So let's talk about taste, and of course, personal taste works into wine. There's no way that you can pick my favorite wine or I can pick your favorite wine, but it seems to scare people to do wine tastings and to really go out there. How do you recommend someone find their wines?
Oh gosh, finding the wines that you like. It's almost your taste will evolve like much of your life. You go from one likes or dislikes. I used to be a two-can of Dr. Pepper guy every day at lunch. You know, it's been 20 years since I've even tasted a soda, because I reached a point where that's it, no more. And so the same thing will happen with wine tasting. The first rule of thumb is taste what you like and drink what you like and enjoy what you like. If you never progress beyond a white wine, it's no problem. If you're white Zinfandel, it seems like white Zinfandel is one of the highest consumed wine in the state of California. I don't know here, but in the state of California, and yet it gets so poo-pooed about, you know, that it's white Zinfandel and somehow it's inferior to other wines. It isn't. It's a very pleasant wine, and some people love that wine. I think over time you'll find most wine consumers will progress from a white wine and going into a red wine. Red wine, don't forget, flavors come with the skins. In white wines, Chardonnays, Sauvignon Blancs, all the white wines, Viogniers, we do the same as the white Zin. We crush it into a bladder press and we remove the skins within hours of picking the grapes and taking them to the winery. So those skins go away. So it makes in a white wine, it makes a very delicate wine and very easily consumed. Because within the skins, not only are there the flavors, not only is it the color, but it's also the tannins that come with and the structure of the grape that present itself within the wine. Then so as you go from a white wine to a red wine, it's just a matter of logic, really, that the red wine will have more flavor. It will have something more in the mouth than a white wine would as a standalone, just all by itself, let's not even mention oak barrels. It will just have more flavors and a different experience. Now you add the dimension then of oak barrels, and you got all kinds of oak barrels. You got French and American oak. You got oak all over the place. You got different toasts. You got different types, and so you can make that oak actually influence the wines and make a totally different wine. So,
and for someone who tries Merlot and they say, you know what, I don't like Merlot. A Merlot is not a Merlot is not a Merlot. I mean, different vineyards, different Merlots taste different.
Right? And like most things, making wine is very, like growing the wine grape is very farmer driven, and personality driven. We all do things a little differently. We don't have a rule book that we go step 1 through step 30. Now pick the grape. Same thing with winemaking. Winemaking is very personality. It's just the epitome of personality driven, a personality driven product. So not only do you have choices of when to pick the grape, where to pick the grape, what region you want, where do you need it, at what ripeness, but then you bring it to the winery and you have, gosh, I don't even know, 100 different kinds of yeast that you would inoculate the wine with that will give a different flavor as it goes through fermentation, how much fruit extraction you get, how much you leave the skins with the wines, and then when it fully ferment, how much barrel time, do you leave the yeast on, that has now sunk to the bottom, do you leave that and stir it up every now and then into a reductive style type of wine? That in itself will create a Sauvignon Blanc that isn't citrusly based to one that's more melon based. And it's just those fine things that happen, and there's just a myriad of different type of procedures and winemaking that could be employed to make each wine different. So Merlot is not a Merlot is not a Merlot, and the same goes for every other varietal of wine that you want to say. Not only do you have the regional you have the regional differences, you have the farming differences, you have the weather that you deal with every single year. Every single year is different. Then it goes to the winery and it starts all over again. You have the winemaker that is trying something new, or we do our Pinot Noir. We don't even inoculate with yeast. We allow the yeast that comes in with the load itself to start the fermentation process. It takes time. You're not going to spin that tank and put another load into that tank for double the time. It can take up to 10 days to get it done.
Wow.
But what it does is it gives a totally different style of wine, and it's unique. So wine tasting really comes down to is, hey, so step up and be counted. Taste through wines. Experiment. Don't always drink the same wine unless you drink Lang Twins, of course. Now, I would recommend that highly.
But say like tomorrow night. Tomorrow night is one of those unique experiences where they not only get an opportunity to see Lang Twins, but some 200 wines. This is not something to be afraid of. This is something to really embrace.
Embrace, absolutely. There's nothing better than to be able to go from table to table. Now, everybody's tastes are different, and everybody's ability to taste is different. So what I mean is that after a while for me, and we do a lot of tasting at our winery all the way through the growing process. Our winemakers, this is, get your buns in here, we're going to taste through these, and we're going through an educational process of where we would like to ultimately see our wines and our finish off and join our business. So we're tasting all the time. Well, you talk about tasting fatigue. After a while, you're pretty much done, and so you need to, as you taste through, like tomorrow evening when we're tasting, when people have an opportunity to taste a couple hundred wines, take your time, center into it. Do your whites first, because a very flavorful reds are a challenge to go from a red to a white. Now, certainly time in between, a little bit of food, lots of water, it will all refresh your palate, refresh your tasting, and you'll be able to last a lot longer. If you go from table to table to table, not only will you get a little bit tipsy, but you're going to get tasting fatigue. Your palate just can't handle it. But again, emphasize, tasting a wine is not necessary just because I'm never offended. Never offended. When someone comes up, taste my Zinfandel, I say, I like that. I like more oak, or I like something different. It's just, I don't know what it is, but I just don't like this one. And it's okay. It really is, because all our tastes are different. I will venture to say that all our tastes will change based on what you had for lunch, let alone what you had for dinner or what you're eating with your wine.
Sure.
And so it's if you recognize that, you will find your niche. You will find the wines that you like, and don't get in a rut. Try that Tempranillo if you see an opportunity. Try that Graciano if you see an opportunity. Try that Petit Verdot or the Mourvedre. It's fun, and there is, the winemaking today is there's lots of high quality, nice drinking, value-priced wines. You don't have to go out and spend $60 on a bottle of wine to get a good wine experience. We pride ourselves in knowing that our price points of our wines is at a level that it can be enjoyed on an everyday basis, and yet be brought out for that special occasion. And that's our objective. Food friendly, every day. Bring it out and let's drink.
Sure.